Hey everyone, and welcome to another deep dive. Sometimes I worry that all this technology we have is going to turn our brains to mush, and we'll all end up just staring blankly at screens all day.
You mean like how people stare at their phones when they walk down the street?
Exactly like that. But hey, maybe that's just the caffeine talking. I'm Hari, and I'm ready to dive into some fascinating material with you today.
And I'm Kimi here to help us navigate the twists and turns of today's topic.
Today we're tackling a 1984 sci-fi film called Overdrawn at the Memory Bank. It's based on a John Varley short story, and it has this really interesting premise that connects directly to those fears I just mentioned.
It definitely touches on those anxieties we have about technology taking over, but, through a really unique lens.
So set the scene for us. What's this film all about?
Well, imagine a world where your ultimate punishment for slacking off at work involves having your consciousness transferred into a baboon.
Okay, that got my attention.
And that's essentially what our protagonist, Aram Fingal, faces in this film.
So this isn't your typical caught browsing the internet at work scenario.
Not at all. It seems this Aram guy got busted watching Casablanca instead of doing his programming job, and in this dystopian future, they don't mess around with write-ups or docked pay.
Wow, they go straight to baboon punishment.
Pretty much, they take escaping into entertainment very seriously in this world, but what's really captivating is that this whole doppling process, as they call it, putting human minds into animal bodies, is part of a much larger universe that Varley created in his 8-world series, where humanity has spread out across the galaxy and embraced some pretty mind-boggling technologies.
So we've got this underachieving programmer whose mind is suddenly inhabiting a baboon. I'm already picturing the hijinks that could ensue. But I guess things don't quite go according to plan because I hear he ends up getting stuck inside a computer.
Exactly. Due to a misplaced routing tag, which is a small detail with massive consequences, Aram's mind gets trapped within the company's mainframe, the HX368. It's not just a technological mishap, though. It throws the whole corporation Novicorp into chaos. Not only is Aram's mind at risk of degrading the longer he's trapped, but their stock prices plummet because a rival corporation catches wind of the situation and exploits it. Talk about a butterfly effect.
So it's like Office Space meets Tron with a dash of corporate espionage thrown in for good measure. It sounds like someone needs to step in and wrangle this digital mess before things get completely out of control.
That's where our heroine Apollonia James comes into play. She's given the unenviable task of keeping Aram entertained and occupied within the computer while they frantically search for his body and try to stabilize the company. Imagine trying to babysit a human mind inside a computer system.
I can't even imagine. That must be a full-time job in itself.
Definitely. And it's made even more complicated by the fact that Apollonia starts developing feelings for this disembodied mind that's causing all the chaos.
Oh, so there's a romantic element to this story as well.
There is. It makes you wonder about the nature of connection and how technology could shape our relationships in the future. Could we truly fall in love with someone who exists solely as a digital consciousness? It's a question Overdrawn at the Memory Bank seems to be grappling with.
And speaking of grappling, didn't you mention something about Aram recreating scenes from Casablanca inside the computer? That seems like more than just a coincidence given his initial offense.
It is a curious detail, isn't it? It could be interpreted in a multitude of ways: a clever homage, a desperate attempt at escapism, or even a subconscious reflection of his desire for a classic romantic ending.
It sounds like this film has a lot more going on than meets the eye. It's layered with symbolism and thought-provoking ideas that go beyond the surface-level plot. But let's get back to Aram's predicament. How does he manage to escape this digital prison? Does Apollonia manage to find his body before his mind dissolves into ones and zeros?
Well, it's a close call, that's for sure. They locate his body just in time, moments before he's about to undergo a forced sex change operation.
Wait, hold on, a sex change. Now that's a curveball I did not see coming. What's the story there?
That detail actually reflects a much larger societal element within the film, a sense of control and manipulation that extends beyond corporate life and into personal freedoms. But before we get into that, let's address how Aram escapes this precarious situation. With Apollonia's help, he manages to interface with the mainframe on a deeper level, allowing him to not only get back into his body, but also gain a level of control over the HX368 that nobody anticipated.
So he goes from a slacker watching movies at work to a digital mastermind capable of bending the system to his will. Talk about a power move. What does he do with this newfound power?
That's where the ending gets particularly interesting and maybe a little bit confusing depending on your interpretation. He decides to use his control over the HX368 to turn the tables on Novicorp. He grants every employee bonuses and stocks, essentially redistributing the wealth, and then sends the chairman on a mandatory month-long vacation in a baboon's body, a taste of his own medicine, you could say.
That's poetic justice with a sci-fi twist. But what about Aram and Apollonia? Do they ride off into the digital sunset together?
Not exactly. They both undergo identity changes, adopting new names, Rick and Ilsa, inspired by Casablanca, of course, and vow to fight against this oppressive system. Whether they succeed or find their happily ever after is left ambiguous, but their act of rebellion certainly leaves a lasting impression.
It sounds like Overdrawn at the Memory Bank has a lot more to offer than just spaceships and laser beams. It's a film that delves into some pretty heady themes about technology identity and the potential for both good and bad that comes with our increasing reliance on computers.
And what's fascinating is that the film was produced on a fairly low-budget shot on videotape instead of film, and pre-sold to cable companies, a far cry from today's blockbuster CGI extravaganzas and streaming wars. It speaks to a different era of filmmaking, and yet its themes resonate even more strongly in our modern digital landscape.
And let's not forget its appearance on Mystery Science Theater 3000, a testament to its cult classic status, even if some found it more entertaining for its unintentional humor than its artistic merit. But hey, sometimes the best conversations come from dissecting the so-bad-it's-good films, right?
Absolutely. It just goes to show that even films that might not be considered masterpieces can spark fascinating discussions and offer unexpected insights.
So what did the critics think of Overdrawn at the Memory Bank? Did they embrace its unique blend of sci-fi and social commentary? Or were they left scratching their heads?
The reception was definitely mixed, with some critics praising its thought-provoking themes, while others found it convoluted or underwhelming. It seems to be one of those films that you either love or hate with little middle ground.
That makes our deep dive even more intriguing. We get to explore all the nuances and complexities that led to such polarizing reactions.
And hopefully by the end of this deep dive, you'll have a better understanding of why Overdrawn at the Memory Bank continues to fascinate and frustrate viewers decades after its release. Welcome back to our deep dive into Overdrawn at the Memory Bank, where we're exploring this fascinating world of a film that really, pushes those boundaries of science fiction and really makes us think about our relationship with technology.
Yeah, it's amazing how this film made back in 1984 manages to tap into anxieties we're still grappling with today, especially when it comes to technology's influence on our life and even our identities.
That's one of the most compelling aspects of this film, wouldn't you say? I mean, Aram's journey from this disgruntled programmer to a disembodied consciousness trapped inside a computer system, it really forces us to contemplate what makes us human in a world that's increasingly intertwined with technology.
It's interesting because when he's stuck in that mainframe, the HX368, he's not just a passive observer. He's actively creating worlds, manipulating data, and even interacting with characters from his beloved Casablanca. It's like he's become a digital god in a way.
And that raises some pretty profound questions about the nature of reality and simulation. If we can create these immersive and believable virtual worlds, how do we distinguish them from what we perceive as real? Is there even a clear distinction anymore?
It's almost like the film is foreshadowing the rise of virtual reality and the metaverse concepts that were still pretty fringe back in the 80s. Today, we're seeing these ideas take shape in ways that could have a huge impact on how we live, work, and even interact with each other.
Think about it. Aram's experience inside the computer blurs the lines between his physical existence and his digital persona. We see this blurring happening in our own lives, too, with social media profiles, online avatars, and the constant stream of digital information shaping our perceptions.
It makes you wonder if we spend more and more time in digital spaces, crafting these curated versions of ourselves, what happens to our sense of self in the real world? Does it become fragmented, distorted, or perhaps even enhanced in ways we can't yet comprehend?
It's a question Overdrawn at the Memory Bank doesn't necessarily answer, but it definitely prompts us to examine these evolving notions of identity in a world where technology is increasingly mediating our experiences. And let's not forget the film's stark depiction of a dystopian future where corporations wield immense power and control over people's lives.
Right. Novicorp, the company Aram works for, seems to have its fingers in everything from work and entertainment to even the very concept of escaping reality through doppling. It paints a pretty bleak picture of what could happen if we allow corporations to dictate not just our work lives, but our leisure time and even our access to alternate realities.
And it's not so far-fetched when you consider the power tech giants hold today. We're already seeing concerns about data privacy, algorithmic bias, and the influence of social media platforms on our thoughts and behaviors.
It's like the film is holding up a mirror to our own society, warning us about the potential pitfalls of unchecked corporate power in the digital age. It's a message that resonates even more strongly today in a world where our lives are so deeply entangled with technology.
What's particularly interesting is how the film portrays doppling. It's presented as a form of escapism, a way to break free from the drudgery of everyday life, but it's also clearly a tool of control used to pacify and manipulate the population.
So it's like this double-edged sword, right? Technology can offer us these incredible opportunities for connection, entertainment, and even self-exploration. But it can also be used to exploit control and limit our freedoms if we're not careful.
Exactly. Overdrawn at the memory bank doesn't shy away from showcasing the seductive aspects of technology, the allure of immersing ourselves in virtual worlds and escaping the harsh realities of our lives, but it also forces us to confront the potential consequences of surrendering too much control to these digital realms.
And Aram's experience inside the computer is a prime example of that. He initially enjoys the power and freedom it affords him, but he eventually realizes that true freedom lies in reclaiming his agency and challenging the systems that seek to control him.
Yeah, his decision to rebel against Novicorp, to use his newfound control over the HX368 to disrupt their systems and grant his fellow employees a measure of autonomy, speaks to that inherent human desire for freedom and self-determination, even in the face of seemingly insurmountable odds.
And we can't forget about Aponia's role in this whole ordeal. She's not just a passive observer. She actively helps Aram, risking her own well-being to support his fight against the corporation.
Right. She represents a glimmer of hope in this otherwise bleak, dystopian world. It's a reminder that even in the most oppressive systems, there are always individuals who are willing to stand up for what they believe in, to fight for a better future, even if it means defying the status quo.
Her character is a testament to the power of human connection, empathy, and courage in the face of adversity. And it's interesting how their relationship evolves throughout the film. There's that romantic tension building as they navigate this chaotic situation. But it's more than just a typical love story.
It really is. It's a connection forged in shared adversity, a bond that transcends the physical and digital realms. It makes you wonder if true connection is even possible in a world where our sense of self is constantly being fragmented and manipulated by technology.
Overdrawn at the Memory Bank doesn't offer a clear answer, but it certainly poses the question in a thought-provoking way. And let's not forget the film's curious connection to Casablanca, which seems to be woven throughout the narrative, from Aram's initial transgression of watching the film at work to his ultimate decision to adopt the name Rick and encourage Apollonia to become Ilsa.
It's more than just a simple homage or a nostalgic nod to a classic film. Casablanca represents a yearning for a world where love, freedom, and self-sacrifice triumph over cynicism, oppression, and control. It's a world that Aram seems to be striving for both within the computer system and in his ultimate act of rebellion against Novicorp.
It's almost like he's trying to rewrite his own destiny to find a happy ending in a world that seems determined to deny him one. And the fact that he chooses to model his rebellion after a classic love story speaks volumes about the enduring power of art and storytelling, to inspire us, to give us hope, and to help us make sense of our own lives, even in the most challenging of circumstances.
And that brings us to a crucial question that I think lies at the heart of Overdrawn at the Memory Bank. What is the film ultimately trying to tell us about our own relationship with technology?
That's a question I've been pondering throughout this entire deep dive. On the one hand, it serves as a warning, a cautionary tale about the potential for technology to control and manipulate us, to erode our individuality, and to create a world where our lives are dictated by corporations and algorithms.
But on the other hand, it also hints at the possibility of using technology to empower ourselves, to connect with others in meaningful ways, to challenge oppressive systems, and to create a more just and equitable future.
It's a reminder that technology is a tool, and like any tool, it can be used for good or evil. It's up to us as individuals and as a society to decide how we want to wield that tool to shape the future of technology in a way that benefits humanity rather than enslaving us.
And as we become increasingly reliant on technology, as our lives become ever more intertwined with digital platforms and virtual experiences, it's more important than ever to remember the values that make us human: compassion, empathy, creativity, the pursuit of meaning and connection, the desire for freedoms and self-determination.
These are the qualities that set us apart from machines, no matter how sophisticated they may become. And Overdrawn at the Memory Bank challenges us to hold on to those values, to ensure that technology remains a tool that enhances our lives rather than diminishes our humanity.
And with that thought-provoking sentiment in mind, we'll conclude part 2 of our deep dive into Overdrawn at the Memory Bank. But don't go anywhere just yet, because we'll be back shortly with part 3, where we'll explore the film's lasting impact on science fiction and popular culture and delve into some of the questions it raises about the future we're creating.
Welcome back to the deep dive. It feels like we've really journeyed into a whole other world with Overdrawn at the memory bank, experiencing both the allure and those potential pitfalls of technology's grasp on our lives.
It's been quite the exploration, hasn't it? And as we wrap up our deep dive, I think it's fascinating to consider how this film, released back in 1984, predicted so many of the technological and societal shifts we're witnessing today.
It's true, back then the internet was in its infancy. Personal computers were just starting to become commonplace, and the concept of virtual reality was largely confined to science fiction. Yet, Overdrawn at the memory bank manages to foreshadow so many of the anxieties we grapple with now: data privacy, corporate control, the blurring lines between our physical and digital selves.
Yeah, the film's portrayal of a society where a corporation like Novicorp can monitor and manipulate citizens through technology feels eerily prescient in our age of data collection, social media algorithms, and, the immense power wielded by these tech giants.
It's almost like the filmmakers had a glimpse into the future and saw those potential consequences of our increasing reliance on technology, both the seductive aspects, the escape into virtual worlds, the promise of instant gratification, and the more sinister side, the erosion of privacy, the manipulation of behavior.
And what strikes me is that the film doesn't offer easy answers or simplistic solutions. It really grapples with the complexities of our relationship with technology, forcing us to acknowledge both its potential benefits and its inherent dangers.
Overdrawn at the memory bank might not have that widespread recognition of films like Blade Runner or The Matrix, but it's definitely earned its place as a cult classic, particularly among those who appreciate thought-provoking sci-fi that delves into the human condition.
It's a film that has sparked countless discussions and inspired other works that explore similar themes: virtual reality, corporate control, the blurring of humanity and technology. You can see its influence in novels, films, and even video games that have come after it.
And let's not forget its enduring legacy thanks to Mystery Science Theater 3000, which introduced the film to a whole new audience and added another layer of humor and commentary to its already quirky narrative.
The fact that it became a fan favorite even among those who might not have enjoyed a film on its own speaks to its unique charm and its ability to provoke conversation and debate. It's a testament to the idea that even flawed films can have a lasting impact and find an appreciative audience.
I think the MST3K treatment perfectly encapsulates the film's own blend of humor, social commentary, and thought-provoking ideas. It's a film that invites multiple interpretations and encourages us to think critically about the world around us, which aligns perfectly with the spirit of our deep dives.
So as we wrap up our exploration of Overdrawn at the memory bank, what key takeaway would you like to leave our listeners with today?
Well, for me, it's a powerful reminder that technology is ultimately a tool. It can be used for good or for ill, and it's up to us as individuals and as a society to decide how we want to shape our future with it.
We need to be mindful of the choices we make today and the impact they will have on the world of tomorrow. As we continue to push the boundaries of technology, we must never lose sight of our humanity, our empathy, and our capacity for connection.
Those are the qualities that truly set us apart from machines, no matter how sophisticated they may become. Overdrawn at the memory bank serves as a reminder to hold on to those values as we navigate the ever-evolving landscape of technology.
Well said. It's a film that challenges us to imagine the future we want to create, reminding us that the future isn't predetermined. It's something we build together through the choices we make each day.
Thanks for joining us on this deep dive into Overdrawn at the memory bank. We hope it sparked some interesting thoughts and perhaps even inspired you to revisit this unique and thought-provoking film.
And as always, we encourage you to share your thoughts with us. Would this make a good remake today? Let us know what you think.
Until next time, keep exploring, keep questioning, and keep the conversation going.